There's a man a-going round, taking names. There's a man going round, taking names. He has taken my father's name and has left my heart in pain. There's a man a-going round, taking names. Oh, death is the man taking names. Oh, death is the man taking names. He has taken my city's name and has left my heart in pain. Oh, death is the man taking names.
As far as Liverpool City Council is concerned, 2021 will be a date remembered for many decades. You may well ask why. Were they fighting the Tories? Were they building homes and protecting jobs? Were they combating climate change? Well, no, none of that. In years to come, people will say, do you remember how in 2021 Liverpool Labour Council sponsored an arms fair?
I see your element. You got about 4 Humvees out along this. You're clear. All right, firing. Line here. When the stage line, let me know when you have it. We'll shoot. Light them all up.
002 traffic, 260s.
Come on, fire. Hey, Roger. Keep shoot.
War! What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing!
War I despise because it means destruction of innocent lives.
I'm here to protest against the arms fair that's happening in the city. To me, Liverpool is a very progressive city. It's a city that's always celebrated its solidarity, its progressiveness, and you like to say city of peace.
War! What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing!
Say it again! War! What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing!
When I was 16, that's when the war started. And the war was the Yugoslav war, and it had a massive impact on me.
I am a child of Palestine, except I'm no longer here. I was 10-year-old Rahaf and 2-year-old Yazan. I was 6-year-old Marwan and I was 5-year-old Barat. But I was my mum's first love and I was the apple of my father's eye. I was the baker's favourite visitor and I was my teacher's pride and joy.
As a teenager, I experienced the shelling of the city, going into the shelter.
I was 11-year-old Ibrahim and 13-year-old Yahya. I was 6-year-old Amira and 12-year-old Hamza. I was my little brother's superhero. I was the laughter of the streets. I was the song of the skies, and I was Jerusalem's brightest flower.
I've had friends that died in this war.
In June this year, I caught up with Labour councillor Alan Gibbons and asked him about the proposed arms fair.
I'm made up to see that Joanne Anderson, the new mayor, has said it's not going to go ahead over her dead body, basically, and we back that.
As well as backing the mayor, councillors formed themselves into a group called Councillors for Peace. But it soon became clear that the council wasn't genuinely interested in using their powers to stop the arms fair. Indeed, the chief executive of the council, Tony Reeves, sent a letter from Max Steinberg, the chair of the council-owned ACC Liverpool group, to all councillors that claimed the arms fair would, quote, connect organisations and individuals from government, defence, industry and academia to share information, ideas and technological advances to allow the development of sophisticated systems used to make the world a safer place. The ACC Liverpool Group, who operates the venue, is a company controlled by Liverpool City Council, but the council claimed they had no power to intervene. We invited the Mayor of Liverpool, Joanne Anderson, onto the programme, but our offer was declined. 4 Labour councillors broke the Labour whip to vote for a Green Party amendment. I asked one of them, Lena Simic, why she opposed the arms fair.
So when I think back on the council meeting that we had on the 21st of July, when there was a discussion and a vote around the arms fair, I felt, and I came to that meeting not really prepared to talk, but I ended up deciding to talk and to address fellow councillors and the members of public that were present, and I remember talking about my experience of war, and I got quite emotional as well. And I remembered at the time when I was speaking, one friend in particular who was a civilian who died because of the shelling. He was an innocent victim who was 19 at the time. He died on the main street on Stradun in Dubrovnik, where I come from. And I remember thinking about him and talking about the importance of stopping, of cancelling the arms fair. So obviously, by having arms fairs, we are enabling and we are as if justifying wars, yeah, because we are providing this space. So, I felt that from my position, I had to do everything I could to stop it.
Stop the arms fair now! Stop the arms fair now!
I supported the amendment from the Green Party because it was after I made a speech, and in the speech I said we had to do all we could. And all we could, I also said in my speech that we need to do the campaign, the public campaign against the arms fair, which we did really well, and the demonstration, and I was part of that. I spoke as I spoke, and then the amendment came in front of me. I remember reading it very carefully 3 or 4 times before the vote came in. And there just wasn't anything in the amendment that I could be against. The amendment itself wasn't actually calling for the cancellation of the arms fair, but it was saying that we need to look at all the options that will enable us to stop the arms fair. So there just wasn't anything in the amendment that I could disagree with, so I said 4.
Councillors for peace, stop your sham vigils! Sack the directors! The Mayor of Liverpool, Joanne Anderson, is permitting an arms fair here in Liverpool. Local government and the majority of local councillors might be willing to ignore the death and destruction caused by warmongering psychopaths, but the people of Liverpool won't stand for it.
The arms trade is corrupt, unstable and fuels the deaths and maiming of innocent civilians across the world. Following our last programme, there's been further lobbies of the council and a national demonstration called by the Merseyside Pensioners Association and supported by Liverpool Trades Council and other groups. The council's decision not to oppose the arms fair scheduled to take place in a council-owned venue, effectively owned by the people of Liverpool, caused outrage in the city. So it wasn't surprising that thousands took to the streets in protest.
When we drove Condoleezza Rice and Jack Straw out of this city over the Iraq War, we were known then, as capital of culture. And we said, no, we're capital of conscience. That's what we achieved. We've been proud of that. And now we're in the ludicrous position where our council, in a council-owned building, and with a company that manages that building that's also owned by the council, in other words, me and you, and actually going to host a fair for the arms trade.
I am a Labour councillor, and so I'm one of your elected representatives in this great city. And my mandate comes from you, from the people. See, you hold the power, and this is your city. And this ACC venue where the arms fair is to be held is actually owned by the Liverpool City Council, which means it's owned by you.
I want to talk about a company called Elbit Systems, just one of the war criminals who are due to exhibit at this arms fair. They are Israel's largest arms company that literally market their weapons as tested, because they test them on the captive population of Gaza, where the majority of the people are children. They test their weapons on Palestinians, they build them in 10 sites here across the UK, and then they sell them to other oppressive regimes to be used against oppressed people across the world. And we in Palestine Action have been going out and shutting Elbit down. In our first year, we shut them down for over 3 months. And I want to send a warning to Liverpool Arms Fair. We see you, we know what you're trying to do, and if you do not cancel this arms fair, then we will shut this arms fair down ourselves.
Now, we have politicians in this city who are wringing their hands and saying they can't do anything about this arms fair. That is wrong. We, the organisers, know that if they come together, they can stop this arms fair from happening in our city. So I would like to call upon those politicians and our mayor to unite and take action. You are supposed to serve the people of this city. We are here and we are going to make so much noise that you cannot help but hear us. We are going to roar today and they are going to listen. So before I hand over the mic, I want to hear you roar. When I say arms fair, you say out. Arms fair. Out. Arms fair. Out. When I say arms fair, you say out. Arms fair. Out. Arms fair. Out. When I say arms fair, you say out. Arms fair. Out. Arms fair. Out. Arms fair. Out. Arms fair. Out. Yes, Liverpool.
And I say to the people who run the council here, make sure that you respect and reflect the ideas of the people who elected you, rather than the people who are making masses of profits out of selling arms and out of death and destruction.
Well, mate, I hope that the photographs published of this demonstration will be widely available to everyone, because it is absolutely fantastic, the view from up here. It is incredible. And if I was a councillor, if I was going to ply my trade selling arms, I would be very, very worried right now. History shows us the technological advances in the weapons of death are the precursors to invasion and repression of less military advanced countries and people. The Spanish Civil War in July 36 saw Germany sending in powerful air and armoured units to assist Franco and his nationalist forces. The The war provided combat experience with the latest technology for the German military. That's how it works. New weapons require new targets, new victims. In Iraq, they tested the latest advances on the people of Iraq in shock and awe.
So let's welcome the real leader of the opposition, David Corbyn.
Could I say to Liverpool, thank you for being here today. You've stood up on so many international and national causes. Liverpool is the city of solidarity. The message we're saying today in Liverpool is, let's turn the corner, turn the page, learn the lessons of the past. Let humanity prevail, the arms fair be cancelled, and start the process, the walk down that road to a more peaceful, more just world, where we respect each other and the human rights that goes with it, as this wonderful city as Liverpool has always done and always will do. Thank you, all of you, for being here today.
In 2020, the former mayor, Joe Anderson, no relation to Joanne Anderson, cancelled the arms fair. Mayor Anderson tweeted that he, quote, promised to develop an ethical charter for LCC and the ACC in the future to make sure we set restrictions on what events we can and should have. This commitment was approved at the Audit and Governance Select Committee on the 29th of October 2020. Indeed, it was recorded that Councillor William Shortall was placed in charge of organising the charter. On the 14th of September, nearly a year after that decision, I contacted Councillor Shortall and asked him where the ethical charter was. He told me that, quote, the task of the ethical charter responsibility is under Councillor Harry Doyle. I have copied him into this email, and all inquiries on this matter please send to Councillor Doyle. Naturally, I assumed, given the time lapse, that the charter must be nearly finished, even if it was only in draft form. Well, it appears that I was wrong. I asked Councillor Doyle about progress and inquired if there were any minutes of meetings available. On the 14th of September, Councillor Doyle told me, quote, there were no minutes of meetings with relation to the ethical charter, as this is an independent task I have been asked to undertake, taking over from Councillor Shortall. It was agreed in 2019 by the Council that an ethical charter would be created. However, nothing came to fruition, which is why I took over responsibility, and we are close to getting it agreed. So there you have it. Councillor Doyle says that it was decided to have an ethical charter as far back as 2019. Clearly, the current administration has not seen the adoption of an ethical charter as a priority.
If you don't, shame on you. Do it tonight. Do it tonight. Don't follow protocol. Break the rules. People's lives are at stake here. Children's lives are at stake here. Do break the rules. Sack the directors. Sack the directors. You have the power. We know you have the power. You're not powerless. It's the law of the land. We know it. You know it.
The weekend before the actual fair, the MPA organised another lobby of the council, this time outside the scene of the crime, Liverpool Town Hall.
So thank you for turning up. We've got a collection of speakers for you, and we will start off, first of all, this is a message from a councillor. Now, we believe that the councillors in this city are very answerable for what is going on, but here's a very good message. I am sorry that I am unable to be with you today. You people are the just people as I come from this city. The city that dared to fight. Where is the fight from the majority of the city councillors? And respect to the few who stood with me, who have principles of human rights and social justice. Other so-called left councillors made lovely speeches and voted to support the arms trade. How can they look you in the eye ever again? My mum and dad told me, actions speak louder than words. I acted, they did nothing. As a socialist internationalist, I am with you in solidarity. Wavertree Labour Ward Councillor, Dave Cummings. Let's hear for Dave Cummings, who stood up.
Thanks very much for inviting me, and I bring welcome and solidarity and congratulations from the Stop the War Coalition, because I think what you have done in this city over the last few months against the arms fair has frankly been absolutely inspirational to people who are against wars right across the country. So give yourselves a big round of applause. Well done, Merseyside. And I think most importantly, you have won the moral argument against these dealers in death. And I think they will be ashamed in front of the whole city and the whole country because of what you've done when they open the arms fair this week. And that's a major achievement.
I grew up, like my generation, under the threat of nuclear war. As children, we grew up afraid and aware of it. And now, our grandchildren, great-grandchildren are still under the threat of it, and we've got to stop it. We've got the power's in our hands, right? You've got the vote. We gave them our vote in there. And what did they do? Brought an arms fair, brought murderers, merchants of death to this city who are going to murder civilians. So let's get rid of these death merchants from our city and never ever let them back again.
I don't know if people know this, but right now down in that conference centre, there's a course going on, an educational course on 21st century electronic warfare. How disgusting is that? People are learning the techniques to use electronic technology to murder people from a safe distance. But the reason we're here, I think, partly is because we are standing up against the normalisation of the militarisation of everyday life. Not only that, the technology that's been sold down there, some of it's been developed up the hill at Liverpool University. That's the normalisation of militarisation in everyday life.
Now, we know that the Labour Council can stop this arms fair. They're telling lies when they say that they can't. We know that they own the building. We've got a written answer from the council explicitly stating that they can add 2 directors to the board. And we also know that the council has the power to sack all the directors if it wants to. So this idea that they're powerless is a complete lie. You know, up here today we've got the Youth Fight for Jobs delegation, and we thought it was important to have the Youth Fight for Jobs group come up, because the capitalist system will push lots of propaganda saying that it's old people who are attacking us, you know, it's the older generation. It's not the older generation, it's capitalism that's attacking us. That's why our wages are being attacked, that's why we're having to pay large tuition fees and so on and so forth. And we want to cut across all that propaganda. It's absolutely brilliant that the Merseyside pensioners have organised this today.
On the first day of the arms fair, protesters turned up to express their horror at the merchants of death coming to Liverpool. The night before, 2 activists from Palestine Action managed to scale the council-owned building and were able to send messages of defiance against the fair.
Now I'm in Liverpool trying to stop the arms fair from happening. It's not necessarily something I or we enjoy doing. I think it's just like we kind of see it as a necessity. The mayor put a statement out and basically said we opposed to this arms fair, but unfortunately we can't do anything about it. I've emailed a lot of my local MPs myself, and they just kind of send back like a generic email and just say like, you know, we'll do everything we can to oppose this. Everyone will happily say we're a bunch of lefties in Liverpool, we love Labour and stuff, and it's like there's limits to it, and I don't know, if we can't stop the arms fair from happening, then what's the point in our kind of political stance, our views, when we'd happily, yeah, I don't know, say we're anti-Tory, we're anti-this, and then but this thing's actually happening. There's going to be an arms fair on in the exhibition centre in Liverpool. What are we going to do about it?
Peaceful protesters were met by scores of police, and the mayor supported a dispersal order preventing protesters from getting close to the event. Black Lives Matter activist Chantal Lunt criticised the order in a tweet, telling Mayor Joanne Anderson, "If you support the dispersal zone, then you clearly don't believe in the right to protest."
At a time when, we've got Labour leaders writing for The Sun and absolutely screwing us over on a national level, we need local politicians who are fighting and who are keeping that Scouse power and that Scouse spirit intact. But what are they doing right now?
Kenny Thompson was one of many protesters who went to protest outside the council-sponsored arms fair.
So the day of the protest, there was a lot of activity going on. People went to the ACC centre. There was a couple of people being directed around the back of the building. So as we walked up, there was a police presence to the right of me, said, "Can you stop?" And then they sort of cornered me round. I don't really deal with the police. I've had a knee on my neck in A&E, similar to George Floyd. I've been dragged down corridors in A&E by the police. And that relationship with the police makes me very scared in the world, because the people who are supposed to protect you aren't there to protect you. I was given a dispersal order which described me as a large black man. This feeds into a stereotype that we are going to be aggressive. I don't have that in my nature. I'm a peaceful man. I call myself a Zen activist. They thought I was going to commit antisocial behaviour. That's predictive crime. That's like the Minority Report. That's something out of sci-fi. You can't predict if someone's going to make a crime. As a black person, we're targeted by the police. And to protest, especially in a less multicultural city, you're more noticeable.
26 years ago, in this city, Liverpool, 10 women walked free from our Crown Court for preventing a crime. And that crime was they broke into an arms factory and they destroyed a fighter jet. Now that was 26 years ago. They turned swords into ploughshares. Today in our city, a city that is steeped in the shame of slavery, the City Council, our Labour City Council, is allowing, and they are allowing, let's make no bones about that, they're allowing an arms fair to take place, an electronic arms fair, where the death and destruction to countries across the globe is brought remotely with drones and all manner of electronic devices. It's like a scene from Terminator. This arms fair here, the idea that it should be happening in our city, the idea that this abhorrent event should happen here, that so much profit should be made, and the profit has been put before anything else, is sickening, and it can't be allowed to happen. And you're aware of the police presence here. You're aware of this police presence. And we're being prevented from raising our voices and protesting against these people. Here they are now. Shame on you! Shame on you! Come in peace!
Believe it or not, in Liverpool, there's an arms fair taking place in the ACC building, a building owned by the City Council, unbelievably. That's why we're here. We'll come down to try and stop it. We may not be successful, but we'll do our damnedest. And hopefully, if they're made unwelcome enough, they decide not to come back at all.
I'm horrified by the idea of people sitting down and planning out more and more sophisticated ways to murder people. I'm particularly thinking of things like drones, where you're not even there. You're sitting in a room somewhere and looking at often children miles away and murdering them. I'm also particularly shocked by the idea that all that matters is profit, that these more and more ingenious and dreadful weapons are being created so that people can make money. It's offensive, it's a crime beyond belief, and that's why I'm here.
Politicians should never be trusted, to be honest, because they all benefit from the system. There's very few who don't benefit from the system. I think Joanne Anderson needs to go. She was voted in for reasons of diversity, and she's not representing her community. She's not representing me as a black person. She is representing herself, and she is benefiting from the system herself. And there's a time for some people and their black card runs out. We don't want to be associated with arms dealers and warmongers. That is not what the black community of Liverpool want. And for her to represent us, and I've got voted in on mainly that powerful image of a black woman being in that position, great, but she's let us down, unfortunately.
When I say arms, you say out. Arms. When I say arms, you say out.
This programme is made by the Art of Resistance, a collective of artists and film activists who seek to give a voice to the many and not just the few. They are unpaid, but this programme still needs support to cover costs. Their work provides commentary, news, satire and art that you won't see in the mainstream media. If you can, please consider making a donation to keep this programme going. Go to the Art of Resistance website if you would like to make a donation. You can also help by sharing this programme on social media. Thanks very much.
Thanks to all the contributors to the programme, and thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. The programme was produced and edited by Hasman Hashim, and we both say stay safe and solidarity to you all.